Hello and welcome to episode 69 of Game of Thrones.
That's the best they could come
That's
up
the
with.
best, right.
I didn't see any.
We don't have a title yet, but it is Game of Thrones and it is episode 69, so it feels notable.
I just like the fact that they will not even release the title because that would give too much away to the episode.
I guarantee that within an hour or so, it'll be out there.
Right.
But at the time, because we're recording this right after it aired,
right.
No idea. I do have to say I feel pretty scandalized that in episode 69 the only sex scene we got was Arya, which I don't know how to feel about that.
Right, because she's, well, if you date the book, she's maybe, in the books, the time this would have occurred, she might be 15. Maybe. Which is awful.
Which is weird. But they aged everybody up for the show.
Right.
And Maisie Williams, I think, is like 20 or 21.
I think she's 21. I thought I saw something about her drinking, yeah.
Right. But still feels a little weird. So if you felt confused by that scene on an emotional, spiritual, many levels, then you're in good company. Anyway, so we have cigars tonight.
Right.
So, because you didn't bring your pipe and I was kind of in the mood for a cigar anyway. So this is the Crux Limitada PB5 that we're going to be smoking. Now, do you know anything about Crux?
No.
Okay, so Crux is actually a Minnesota-based company.
Really?
It's founded by the same people who own Tobacco Grove, which is a tobacco shop right by your house.
Yep.
And they've been around for a number of years. Their Limitada line is, in this case, it is, as it kind of implies, limited. So they have only 1,000 boxes of these were made.
Okay.
So I bought 2, and I think I'm going to try and get one more because I absolutely love this cigar. You kind of get a little bit of a graham cracker feel from the wrapper on there. They have an exclusive wrapper from Nicaragua. All of their tobacco's from Nicaragua. It's absolutely delicious. So we'll just fire up our little...
Yeah, Ben bought a Bunsen burner for his...
How's that?
So I don't know badass.
It is pretty great. But then we have a nice little normal one for relights and whatnot. But we'll fire this guy up and then we'll get to our beer, which we have the latest and greatest Game of Thrones beer. We're post-Lent.
So we're post-Lent now, so Ben can drink with me.
You know, and for the person who was commenting that, you gave up beer but not alcohol, it's like, I'm Catholic, but I'm not crazy. I'm not going to go 40 days
I would
dry.
I would like to point out that it is also a Sunday, and Sunday is not technically a part of Lent.
Well, that's true, but I've done that in the past where I've broken the Lenten fast on Sundays, and this year I just...
about it?
It's not so much you feel bad, it's more just like I wanted to go the whole time. Like there's something about it being 40 days, 46 days, whatever it turns out to be, without doing your thing. It's like I was going hardcore this time.
Sure.
Alright, so this is the latest Game of Thrones beer. For the Throne, it says it is a golden ale with Pinot Grigio and, well, you sound enthused, Virginia grape juice. So we'll see how that goes.
That sounds like a wine.
Well,
it's like a barley wine,
right?
But worse.
Now they had Game of Thrones wines.
Well, yeah.
And I did not enjoy it. I had the Chardonnay and I thought it was awful.
See, I like Central Waters from Wisconsin. They come out with a nice barley wine. Like it's like a 14%. It's like a 12-ounce glass. And it's a wonderful all-night sipper.
Well, listen, if you'd rather drink the Senior Cerveza, I can go grab...
Do we still have it?
There is one more bottle.
We should at least...
No, I'll be pulling that out, I think, next week. For the Battle of Winterfell.
For all the deaths?
Yes.
That makes sense.
All right. Time to scare the dog. Oh, I hit the dog.
Jeez, Ben. Come on. I didn't realize how long of a prep that it really takes for us to get ready to even start talking about this.
It does. It's a long time. And this is just a great cigar. I've
like
been
it.
really into cigars lately because I made a friend at my work who's very into cigars. He's much more knowledgeable than me. He's the one who told me it had a graham cracker flavor.
A graham cracker flavor. Well, how do you use that starship of a thing?
You just push down on it. Easy. I mean, the desk lighter's fun, but for a quick touch-up or relight, it's not terribly practical. So
Correct. All right.
All right. So anyway, episode 69 this week.
Right.
Let's talk about it a little bit overall, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people who are, maybe you, we'll see, who are kind of in the boat of, we're 2 episodes in and nothing's happened.
But they set it up so, after reflecting on last week when I was pissed off that there were no deaths.
Right. No deaths this time.
No deaths this time either. If you go back to all the seasons and you go watch our first and second episodes, things are moving so effing slowly.
Right.
They're just putting along. Nothing's happening. It's annoying and blah, blah, blah. But they just have to. Game of Thrones has to have 2 episodes to set up everything else.
Right.
And that they did a lot. They did, I don't know, I think 20 minutes. At first I was like, when they said they'll be here by morning, I was like, all right, so we're only going to do like a 20-minute Winterfell battle? Like, that's cool. And then I went, no, we're spending 20 minutes with all this other stuff. But they set up, in this episode, I feel like they set up the storylines for the rest of the season. Whether they're dead or not, they set up everything there.
Well, and think about it this way. So there have been single location episodes in the past, but every time there's single location episodes, you kind of think, well, that's cool, but what about all those other plots that are going on? Did you really miss not being in King's Landing?
No.
Exactly.
Because Cersei's the only character there.
She's the only character there. Like, the plots have converged at this point, where a single location episode no longer feels like we're ignoring everything for the sake of this one storyline. It now feels like this is the storyline, and yes, we've got Cersei to deal with, and yes, there's the Iron Islands, but that's it.
Right.
And they'll get there in time.
Not even that, wow, but yeah.
Yeah, not even the Iron Islands. I mean, barely. All right, dog. We gotta let the dog out, because he's feeling antsy.
Sam's making his annual appearance. He'll be howling in the background in just a second.
Right. So to me, that's one of the things where it's like, okay, it's not like, part of what's different about this season, and I know there's only 6 episodes, but in the past, when it felt like things weren't moving, it was because we've got a million storylines, we gotta get to them all, and this has to happen, and that has to happen. And I kind of feel like that's not the case this year. Not that there isn't a lot that has to happen.
Well, there's like 3 things. We have to have Battle of Winterfell, Battle for King's Landing,
right,
and then who ends up on the throne. And we've got 4 episodes to do 3 things.
Right.
That sounds great.
So, now we can assume it's going to get a little more complicated, because if, like me, you think that the Night King is going to win this next week.
Right.
I don't think next week is the end of the Night King by any means. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, that would be one way for the show to go, end the Night King, and then the last 3 episodes are all up.
Why bother having him as a character at all? If he's defeated in one battle,
right,
why has he been the enemy since season 1?
Right. I feel like next week's going to be kind of the Empire Strikes Back. The bad guys win, the good guys are in disarray,
right,
that type of thing.
Right, they don't know what's happening.
Exactly. So, but either way, it's like the action's going to move south, and then we'll pick up the Iron Islands scene, and we're going to pick up the King's Landing stuff. And it's like, it doesn't feel, nothing this week, not that we don't care about what's happening with Cersei. I really don't care about what's happening with Euron, but that's a different story. But it was like, it felt right to me this week. Everything about this episode felt right. Mm-hmm. All right, so should we just let's go through it?
Yep.
Like normal. And this is the calm before the storm, but a lot happens in that calm.
Hey, the calm is, I like it.
So we start with Jaime facing down the Winterfell Tribunal, which this was just great. I love Jaime coming home and just kind of owning it. And
right. And the the fact that he's gone through what he's gone through has allowed him to have backers. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
his brother came to his defense, whatever. Then you have Brienne coming to your defense, and after that scene, you have Bran coming to your defense.
Right.
Who's just like, yeah, if you didn't do that, then I wouldn't be who I am today either.
Exactly.
We would be the same people that we would have been. So, although it was an awful thing that happened, without that experience, we would have been unchanged.
Right.
And this whole series of events would have never taken place.
Agreed. I love the whole, and you kind of forgot that most people don't know what he did to Bran. Like, I didn't remember that, but I love the whole, when he's talking about, well, what I did for my family and for my house and blah, 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 blah. The things we do for love. Which, I just love where Bran's character is at. I love how he's being played. I love how he's being directed.
Right.
Just everything about him is creepy and weird and otherworldly. We'll get into more of that when we talk about him in the whole strategy session where he's talking about himself as the three-eyed raven. But that was just great. I love the whole Jaime scene at first. I also love the fact that we moved on pretty quickly from Tyrion believing Cersei. Because I never bought that for a second.
Tyrion hoped that she would do the right thing.
He hoped, but, it's kind of like the show kind of owned it. As he's supposed to be this genius, and yet he, fell for a lie from the most obvious liar on the show.
Right.
So I like that. I like that the show was willing to kind of say, that Tyrion with his reputation should not have fallen for this. And I guess you can kind of, write your own mental fan fiction of why he did. He wanted to believe her, that type of thing.
Because that would have been, because nobody else in the realm would have not believed it.
Right.
Or, nobody else in the realm would have gone against that. Like, clearly there is something that we need to be fighting here.
Right.
And Cersei's the only one that's not for the greater good in the entire realm at this point.
Correct. So then you have Dany and Tyrion, and you have some of the fallout from that we already talked about. Mm-hmm. You have Arya and Gendry. We'll get back to them later.
Oh boy.
But suffice to say, she establishes, and this is again, this is the thing you forget, and I did not go back and rewatch the entire series before this season, so maybe I should have, but you forget things like, well, we think Arya's this incredible killer and killing machine and everything, but most people still think of her as this little girl.
Right.
And so, why is Gendry putting off making her weapon? Well, it's because he thinks it's just kind of a joke, and then she does the whole thing with the throwing knives.
And it's like, oh, well.
I'll get right on it. What do you think of the beer, by the way?
It's better than I thought. It reminds me of they had that Dorne one. Wasn't it?
Did they?
Dorne, it was like season 3. It wasn't like a Dornish wine. It had the sunburst label on it. It reminds me of that one.
Oh, I don't think they ever did. I have all the bottles up there, so maybe we can investigate later.
Oh, look. Yeah, the second one back on the end here.
Yeah, that was a more recent one.
Oh, it wasn't that one then.
I don't know. But it's middle of the road for the Game of Thrones beers, I think. It's not one of my favorites.
Oh My God has not really ever had a...
Oh, there's been some that they've liked. By the way, the Take the Black Stout that they had back at the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
I have a bottle of that still.
Do you?
I do.
Well, that sounds like an episode 5
type of thing, yeah. Because you're bringing over your $700 bottle of scotch or whatever.
It's a $150 bottle, which is still a very. It's a bourbon, by the way.
That's fine. Sometime I want to buy a $700 bottle of scotch.
I mean, I see it sitting in the back of the liquor store, and you're like, just one time. The day after I'm diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Right. Our mutual friend Sam, at his bachelor party, I bought him and myself a $40 glass of scotch at one of the bars we went to.
And it was good. Yeah, of course it is.
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. Anything that costs that much is that good, especially scotch.
Yeah, so first I asked for
Glorious
like,
Bastards right there.
give me the nicest bottles, or give me the nicest glass of scotch you've got, and it was going to be like 120 a batch. And
Yeah.
Sam was like, no, I don't even like scotch that much, don't do it. Oh, which, by the way, speaking of our mutual friend Sam, so out on the regular Sci-Fi Christian podcast, we'll get back to the episode in a second, we're on Patreon now. And one of the things we're doing on Patreon for our Patreon supporters is Sam's wife, Robin. Apparently, she's friends with my co-host, Matt Anderson, and she wanted to do Game of Thrones episodes. So I'm also doing episodes on there with Robin Johnson.
Really?
Yes, so we did the first one.
How fascinating.
Yeah, so we did one last week.
How'd it go?
It was good.
Say better than me.
No, but she was throwing me off with, she was referring to the double D's. Do you know who the double D's are? I felt very awkward at that moment.
I can think of a couple.
Yes. It's like, oh, this is one of our first female guests, and she's sitting here talking about the double D's. No, David and whatever he is, the creator of the show.
Oh.
Yeah, the
Why
double
would I
D's.
even think about it? No,
I don't know.
George R. Martin, and that's it. If you think of anybody else,
right?
You think of a
No, it's
creator.
David and Damien.
Well, it gives you a new
I don't know.
perspective on. She should really be. Well,
She was referring to. She referred to George R. R. Martin as Gurm. So this is all the terminology I was learning.
Oh my God!
Battle of the Bastards was Bob. So it was a chore to catch up. I was like, she's like, yeah, in season 7, there's all that stuff with Bob. I was like, yeah, Bob. So anyway, for those who are so inclined, you can head out to Patreon.
I love that the new perspective on it, especially from people who have not necessarily read the books, or
Absolutely,
who have been way into it with all the terminology and stuff.
Right. So her podcasting career is going to be short-lived because we only have 5 more episodes.
Well, you guys should start back at season 1.
You know, that's a possibility. I just saw that, the limited edition box set is now for sale on Amazon.
Why would I do that?
Why would
if you have HBO, why would you do that?
Because I like physical media.
I know.
I want 4K. I want
Yeah,
4K.
that's
It's
what you
only
want,
Blu-ray
yeah.
right now, so I'm waiting to see if the 4K
They'd
happens.
have to go back and update seasons 1 through.
They already did season 1 in 4K, so I know they've been working on it.
So they're working on it. Takes a while, I bet.
But I gotta say, I love 4K. We'll get back to the episode in a second. But I love 4K. The jump from DVD to Blu-ray, and the jump is a lot bigger than the jump from Blu-ray to 4K.
Really?
Yes. Now
it wasn't even that big of a jump from.
Oh, it's huge.
For me, it's
huge.
I guess I didn't. The TV that I have right now in my basement,
right?
That's my first TV bigger than a 27.
On your size TV, you would not notice the jump between Blu-ray.
On this thing, which
on this
I
thing
don't
which
even
I
think.
Have.
Like, there's another seat next to us that's just as big,
Yeah.
and the screen is still bigger than that.
Right. It's a 120-inch screen, but no, on this thing, a movie like Dunkirk, especially the scenes Christopher Nolan. Have you not watched it?
No, I think it was going to be next on our movie list. And
then
we had kids and crap and
jobs, right? Well, yeah. we can watch Dunkirk some of the time, or Blade Runner 2049, or something, something like that. It just looks incredible on 4K. But anyway, where were we? Jamie and Bran.
Is that all the further we are?
I'm something else now. Yes, you are.
Yeah, and nobody seems to question him on it. I think it's just for ease of we already know and it's not worth it. And they'll figure it out because he could tell them something from their past.
There's probably half a book devoted to why is Bran so fucking weird in book 6 or whatever.
Right, yeah. There's going to be, everybody's first chapter with Bran is going to be that. But
right.
For the sake of the show, it's not necessary.
Yes. I really like the scene with Jamie and Brienne where he says, I'm not the man I used to be and I'm, dismembered and all of that, but I'm here to fight for you. I like the pod shows back up. Very appropriate that in episode 69 we would have a pod sighting.
Badass Pod.
Yeah.
Somebody told Pod to go to the gym for the last year and a half.
Yes, he did.
Your job is to be able to bench 350 and just...
Which, I always go back to the books where it's like, kind of like how Arya is a little different from the books to the show where she's aged up and all of that.
Right.
Pod's also just, he's like a retard in the books, so.
Oh, yeah, he's got an IQ of like 20.
He's like Forrest Gump.
That's about what he is. Yeah.
So, Pod in the show is far more sophisticated than Pod in the books, but I do love that show Pod is the sex god, and
I like that, especially because Pod is probably taking the part of a lot of the different characters.
Yes.
That are subplotted in the Lannister
yes.
realm, as it were, and so the fact that he's kind of not just the dimwit because he is taking the place of all those characters is nice.
Agreed. So Jorah shows up with Dany, convinces her to go talk to Sansa, convinces her to kind of get past Tyrion.
Yeah, the Sansa thing was a mistake. Well, maybe not, because now she knows where she stands.
What about the North? Well, if next week goes how I think it's going to go, not going to be an issue.
There will not be a North
There
to
will
worry
not
about.
be a North.
So, where would you like to live? Starting at the Twins, moving below.
Exactly. It's going to be a non-issue. I don't think Winterfell will exist after next week, especially based on the after-credits discussion you and I are going to have.
Right.
So we're going to put a little discussion about the preview for next week after the credits. So if you don't want to know
Right.
even what the preview says, you can just end it when the music comes up. Otherwise, there is a very interesting line that we will get into.
Yeah.
Then Theon arrives, and I gotta say, Jaime must have been thrilled when he saw Theon riding up. He's like, somebody who they hate more than me.
Except for the fact that Sansa comes up and gives him a hug.
Right.
But you forget, I mean, the whole Ramsay period it's a season ago that we were just kind of in the aftermath of Ramsay.
But it goes back to...
And it's just...
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, is that we think of Game of Thrones as being this expansive storytelling of there's plots on different continents and a billion characters and a billion different story threads, and it's not anymore, and that's actually a good thing. It's that it's now a very focused story, and everything we saw tonight feels like climax. It feels like a story coming to its end, and that's why, even though we're 2 episodes in and nobody's died and quote-unquote nothing's happened, it all feels right, you know? It's Alright, so I love the scene with Davos and the Shireen look-alike.
Oh, God. Right? That was great.
Mm-hmm.
And we could see Gilly for a second there.
Yep.
She makes an appearance. I was kind of worried that she would just be a throwaway character, but she's got a little bit.
Well, she'll be a dead character after next week, you know.
Yeah, well, there's going to be, I don't know how many people are making it out of next week, but...
This is true. At the end, we should predict who dies next week.
Alright.
I think it's going to be a long list.
Yes.
Speaking, and then Tormund and company arrive from Last Hearth,
yeah.
And they give us our ticking clock before the sun goes up.
Right.
At that point, I thought, well, maybe we will get the battle this week.
Right, we had about 30 minutes, I don't know what the time was. It felt about halfway through the episode, and so 30 minutes isn't the best battle of the entire series, but if it's going to be sweeping one way or the other, just get it over with and move on.
Well, and they talked about, in terms of show notes that came out in the off-season, they talked about how we have a battle in this season that's bigger than anything that's ever been done on TV before. Dwarfs battle the bastards. It's like, okay, this has got to be it.
Right.
And so it's not going to be crammed into the last 15 minutes. And you know what? I love the character moments that we got in the back half of this episode.
Needed, because they're all going to die, so this is their last
Except for Grey Worm and Melisandre, who we'll get to in a second. Just kill them. I mean, don't even wait for the battle. Can we just have a stone fall off of the castle and just hit Melisandre on the... Do you need to go out again, dog?
Right. So where are we here?
Alright. So... Dog calling, Nancy.
It's anxious. It's an anxious episode.
It is an anxious episode.
Feelings.
Alright, so, by the way, what do you think of the cigar?
I like it. It's nice and smooth. I actually like it better than some of the pipes that we've smoked.
Oh, it's delicious. I
Yeah.
love it. This is
It's
why
good.
it's like the last box I bought was numbered 900 something out of 1,000, so they're running out. So
Right.
I got to get one more box. I think one
You
more
can do it,
box.
especially if you go to Tobacco Grove.
All right, so then we get the whole strategy session scene, and this is where, and I feel like I want to go back and rewatch this scene to catch everything Bran said, because he was talking about how many three-eyed ravens have stood against the Night King in the past,
I didn't
and
catch that. Okay.
and he was like, the Night King wants to kill me, and the Night King can tell where I am at all times, and he shows his arm, and I don't remember. He must have been grabbed at some point. My memory's blanking on that one.
Yeah, no, he was grabbed in the dream sequence.
Oh,
and he goes back
okay.
and they stare each other down.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, suffice to say, there seems like there's a lot in that scene. So that's when I want to go back and at least watch those few minutes again.
Yes.
And kind of figure out exactly, kind of parse out what Bran's saying. But suffice to say, Bran just kind of, to your point, nobody's really questioning it, probably for the sake of efficiency and storytelling.
Right.
But here we have Bran. He's like, yep, I am the three-eyed raven.
Right, and I will be in the Godswood with the tree.
Right.
Because it's not the safest. Well, he doesn't say it's not the safest place, but I think for him that's safer than the crypts. For him, that is like his get out of jail free card.
Yes.
So we've seen him transport his way through a weirwood tree before. And in the books, we've seen people transfer into other people's bodies and things like that. Yep. And so for him, although he might not be saying it, it's if you guys screw this up, I'm out.
Yes.
This is my way out, and I'll try and fix it for you in the future.
Right. And when we talk about character fates for next week, at the end, maybe there's something there that we can kind of tease out as a prediction.
Sure.
All right. Grey Worm and Melisandre, no one cares. We have a ghost sighting.
Yeah.
You know, for all the amount of CGI we've spent on dragons, you think that they could have spent a little more money making a dog.
Versus scales.
It's a fucking dog.
Also, I bet if you image back to season 4 or whatever, that's the same image of him in the background,
probably
just panting in the back.
I gotta say,
the same one.
When book readers look back on the series, and I don't say this as trying to be critical, because I think the series has done in places there have been failures, but it's done overall an incredible job of bringing this massive story to life. Right. The direwolves stand out as a really big black mark in terms of where they just miffed.
Where they are in the book versus where they are in the show is
right.
Total left and right, yeah.
Almost second, the other big one is Dorne. Dorne was just a disaster in the show.
But that was the writer's fault.
Yes. Dorne was 100% the writer's fault.
Right.
So Dorne and the direwolves, bad. But at least we see Ghost.
Right.
Sam and Jon talking was nice. And then we get the first of the fireplace scenes, where we have Tyrion and Jaime. I wish our father was here, which was a great line.
Yeah. And I think that we're going to call that fireplace scene like something clever, like the dinner of the dead, or
right.
the drinking with the dead, because I'm not sure that when we sit here in the final episode of the final season, that a single character in that room is alive.
Very likely.
And it is extremely likely. I mean, if you count off like the minor characters that are in that room that we love, like Brienne, probably dead. Tormund, definitely dead.
Yes.
And you just go down the line. Tyrion's the only wavering one.
Only one who might survive.
The only one who might survive
right.
and write a song about the time that he had in this room with all these dead people.
Yes.
And that's about it.
Yes.
So, dinner with the dead. You heard it here first. Or drinking with the dead? Drinking with the dead.
Let's
do drinking with the dead.
Let's run with it. All right, people.
Drinking with the dead.
Yeah, start it.
Right?
Arya and the Hound was a great scene. When was the last time you fought for anybody besides yourself? I fought for you. That was just fantastic.
That was season 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while.
You got Beric Dondarrion there.
Mm-hmm.
All of that. Um, really only a few things left. I mean, there was a lot of time with talking and everything, but you had Arya and Gendry, or whatever the fuck we're calling him anyway. Yeah, that made us all feel a little dirty, but we got through it.
I thought she was gonna do something like clever, you know, like undress him and be like, "You're too easy" or something.
Right.
Like walk away.
No.
I didn't know we were gonna do that.
We
Also, she said there, "I'm not gonna take off your pants like Melisandre or whatever."
Right.
But he never said that. And I know that she's good at the game of faces or whatever that game that they would play where you try and guess who's lying.
Yeah.
But part of me, and this brings us back to a conversation we had before the show started, was that we have to bring up Melisandre because she said that she's dying here.
Mm-hmm.
She's not here yet. Well, what if this is it? And what if she's got... What if now Arya is... Or the character we know as Arya is actually Melisandre. Here's a shocker. This could be a hell of a twist, right? Could be Arya is actually Melisandre, and Melisandre just impregnated herself with one of those ghost things again to go through and start killing people like it did last time.
That is wild.
I'm just saying.
Alright, I have to desperately pee, so I'll be back. We'll cut this part out.
Maybe I'll keep talking.
Alright, that's fine.
So Ben and I, before we started this episode, were talking about how Melisandre in the last season had mentioned to Varys that they're both destined to die in this realm. And then she left. She took off for wherever, and we haven't seen her since. Now, lining up the timelines a little bit can get a little bit fuzzy, but my question is, where did she go, and why did she go there? So we're trying to figure out. So if she goes there for forces or reinforcements of some sort, there's nothing that we know of in the books or in the show that can come back unless she's actually going to go get Azor Ahai from somewhere else in the world, which, as far as we know, doesn't seem to be the case. So then we come back to, well, why did she leave in the first place? Did she leave to go to the Faceless Men to grab Arya's face, which it would appear that the Faceless Men have. We've seen it on Jaqen H'ghar's face when Arya was pulling off the masks. And so, is she pretending to be Arya right now? This is just a conspiracy theory at this point. But with that line, that last little line, like, I'm not going to take off your pants like Melisandre made you to. Like, that, it just doesn't add up to what exactly Arya... It doesn't seem right for Arya's character. It could be. And it could just be, like, rushing the timeline a little bit more than they had to in the show, but it honestly, to me, just does not seem like something that Arya's character... So I have questions about it. So I would not be completely shocked if that happened. It would be It would definitely be shocking, especially if Arya showed up somewhere else. But I filled the time.
Oh, good. Well, I appreciate it. The bladder's not in mid-season form yet.
Yeah,
it's out of practice.
Hustle up. So what's next?
All right, so...
Oh, wait, did we do... what's his face and what's her face from the House of Bear?
Oh, Jorah and Rhianna Mormont.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. I don't have that written down.
Okay. I like that scene. I thought that it was a good passing of the torch, essentially. Right. Because Jorah is clearly never going back to his home ever. And if he does, he's certainly not going to be the presider of the realm or anything like that.
Yes.
And so it's just, I like that passing of the torch moment.
Given that his home is north of the Twins, I don't think anybody's going back there anytime soon.
Well, you never know.
You never know. Alright, so then we get the rest of the fireplace scene. We Brienne get knighted, which was nice. pretty much seals her fate for next week.
Yep. Oh, yeah. When she got knighted, I was like, and that's it.
And she's dead.
That's like, yeah, it's like Grey Worm sitting out front. You're just, that's it.
Yes,
It's over.
It's over.
It's done.
Yes.
And she's going to do it saving Jaime, and then Jaime's going to die anyways. So then it's going to really piss us all off.
Right. But if she doesn't, Tormund was not successful in getting into her pants, so... If
wouldn't that be something?
If it is next week for her...
Yeah.
Alright, come on, dog. We're just falling apart here at the end.
Ah, man. What else did I like about that scene?
Your pod song.
Okay, so
nice
Jenny's
moment.
somebody, isn't she? That's not a new song.
I'm sure it's in the book somewhere.
I'm sure it's in the book somewhere, and I'm sure it's severely significant, and I bet you Googled it first before you commented, you little shit.
Exactly. We don't want comments telling us we're wrong.
Or just telling us all the stuff we didn't know that you also didn't know.
We only want compliments, not any derogatory comments. We have fragile egos.
I teach. I don't should hear the things I get called.
They yell at you about what you were wrong about on Game of Thrones, too.
Middle schoolers are the worst. They pick out the tiniest little thing you have and they just run with it.
Alright, I have written here Sam and Jorah, but I'm trying to remember what they did.
Sam and Jorah?
Yeah, Sam and Jorah. Oh, where he gives him his sword.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a nice moment.
That was a good moment.
And then, the last two scenes in the episode, we have Dan, not Dan.
Joe. Yeah, Dan. That would be
Johnny.
a completely different season. Completely different season.
Show,
It was Dan and John.
So Danny and John in the crypts.
Yep.
He tells her it's out there.
And she...
Not the best timing.
Oh, man. Somebody brought up to me today at Easter dinner, because that's the time to bring up Game of Thrones talk, that maybe the bittersweet ending is that Dany ends up on the throne, but she's just like all the other like just like the Mad King. And it's like, this was all for nothing.
Right, we've been cheering for her the whole time.
Just, she's got the right judgmental mentality, right? Like she wants to do good, but she's not willing to compromise.
She is
which has been the fault of everybody so far, right? Or at least their hands, right? Even, just going every season so far is just...
More interested in power than you are in what you do with it.
Right.
Yes.
And to be fair, she just found out that something she's been fighting for approximately 10 years at this point in the books, probably, is all of a sudden not real. And the only people that know about it are your brother and your best friend.
Right.
That
it is suspicious.
If somebody came up to me and told me that, I think I would be like, let's do a little research first.
Exactly.
And so... hopefully she'll come to terms with that. Well, John doesn't even want the spot. John was just telling her that because he felt like it needed it needed to be told because he's a good and righteous man.
Then the Night King's army shows up.
Which, there were a lot more horses than there were before. So how do you get...
They've been mass producing those
I know,
guys.
but how do you get ranked up? Do you work your way up like a general system, where you work your way up from private?
I don't know. It seems fairly organized.
Fairly organized? It does. It just...
Alright, before we go to post-credits, who dies next week?
Brienne.
Brienne.
Grey Worm.
Yes, thank God.
Tormund.
Actually, I'd rather have Melisandre die.
No, just them both.
Yeah.
Because then we have to have the grieving scene.
Agreed. It's just like...
No,
neither of these characters is bad in the books, and neither of these characters was bad in the show, and then we just felt the need to push this completely artificial romance. He doesn't even have any balls.
Who else?
Well, go back to the fireplace scene, because to your point, are all of these people... Is anyone here even alive at the end of the show? I gotta think Jaime makes it out.
Yeah.
I could see Pod dying.
Yeah.
Davos could die.
Yeah.
Um,
Everybody but Tyrion and Jaime.
yeah.
That's a
They're
real
all
possibility.
That's a very real possibility. I think both of them are safe. Maybe it's easier to say who's safe. Jon and Dany are safe.
Jon and Dany are safe.
Sansa, Arya.
Yes.
Arya has more. You have to think in terms of what's good for the story, as far as what does the story demand.
Arya is safe,
Yep.
but she's a changed person.
Quite possibly. Okay. I don't think Gendry's safe.
No.
Especially after they did it. It's like sex in an episode like this is an instant death sentence. If you have sex with somebody in that duo is going to die.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that.
I mean, it's the way these types of moments work.
Alright, I'll let you have it. I can't think of a rebuttal at this point. I'm trying to think of people. Danny and John's the only one, and they just haven't died. One of them will die, and we just haven't figured out which one and which yet. Like,
exactly. I could see Jorah dying. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
he was out front in that preview. Well, anyways.
You know, he kind of made peace with Dany and made peace with the fact that he's not her hand.
Right.
Lyanna Mormont, I could see. I mean, just about everybody except for
there's like
a handful of characters is up for grabs.
Right.
Theon is dead.
Theon is
dying
dead.
in the defense of Winterfell.
Oh man. Yes.
I think that's
and it's going to be an epic. It's going to be one of those deaths where you're just like, I can't even think of a comparison in in a show.
Right.
It's going to be a good death.
So the only people I would say are definitely safe: Jon, Dany, Sansa, Arya, Jaime, Tyrion.
Yep.
So but it makes sense. It's like you have your core set of characters that's going to make it to the end, and not all of them are going to survive by any means.
No.
But they're going to make it to the last episode or two.
Yep.
And then you're going to start whittling down the periphery characters, and that's not to say everyone else is going to die, but
at least half of the
we are going to have deaths next week.
A lot of deaths.
Which leads us to
might be. I would not be entirely shocked if there was one major character death next week.
Mm-hmm. There could be
one of those 6.
Right.
If one of those 6 dies,
right,
I wouldn't be shocked.
So who out of that 6 is the most likely to die?
Tyrion.
See, I was going to say Jaime, but it feels like Jaime needs to...
I was going to say Jaime too, but
he
Tyrion...
needs to close the thematic
loop.
But
what does Tyrion need to fulfill? They set him up as the mind of the entire force at this point. Right. So he's the...
Yeah.
Tyrion or one of the Sansa, or one of the Stark girls. One of them.
There's more to do with Dany and Sansa. Arya's not done. Jon's not done. So it's either Jaime or Tyrion.
If there were to be a merger... But
I think all 6. I think all 6 make it out, but I think I agree with you. I think Tyrion's the most vulnerable.
Yeah. Unless something... Yeah.
Alright, so... Then let's get to our post-credits scene. So I guess I'm Ben DiBono.
I'm Ben Kirkland.
And that's the dog. Goodbye. Alright. Dog, do you want to go inside? Good God. Calm the fuck down.
He's got things to do then.
He does. Fuck. Alright, so in the preview for next week, Dany says the dead are already here.
Right.
Does that mean the dead are already here? As in they're at Winterfell? Or does that mean the dead are already here, as in...
The crypts!
The crypts. And I gotta say, once we talked about it a little bit, it's the crypts.
It's the crypts.
Even if that line specifically doesn't refer to it.
You know, a lot of... So
goodbye, women and children.
Well, so I've watched a lot over the past year and a half of other people who do a way better job than we do at this.
What are you saying?
They have like the pictures of the people as they're talking. They have like a script and stuff.
Listen, we could do that if we edited, but you know.
Alright, okay.
We're going to spend approximately 3 minutes editing.
Anyways, a lot of the stuff I hear is like, okay, but this Winterfell's like a special place. They have these crypts that they talk about in the books all the time, blah, blah, blah. And they also had talked about these secret passages that people could get out of, blah, 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 blah. And there's two thoughts then, is that the dead are already here. So Dany is either they just put it in there because they didn't think that regular show viewers would get it. It's like, the dead are already here, it's too late to do X, Y, or Z we should have fortified this way out there. Or we should have tried to escape these people. And it's like, the dead are already here, it doesn't matter. Or it's somebody that came up from the crypts and is like, the dead are here, John. Like, they're here inside. So it really doesn't matter what the fuck's going on about there, because they're inside of here right now in the crypts.
So do we get zombie Ned Stark next week?
Well, oh my god, what would people do? If Ned Stark comes back and starts chopping up Samwell Tarly. I mean, honest to God.
Sean Bean cameo of him eating Sam.
There would be riots in the streets. Maybe not.
Remember,
that far.
his bones are in Winterfell.
That's what I'm saying. All of their bones, all of the Stark's bones are there.
Yes.
And so, or the second possibility for them getting in is that there are apparently, in the books, they talk about these secret tunnels through, that can get them out, but then theoretically could also get people in.
Right.
But so there's a lot more, and so when they were talking about that, they talked about how these might be the secret defenders of the Winterfell, and like there might be some sort of hidden dragon below Winterfell, which bullshit. I'm not. This is why they might not be better than us.
They're not better than us.
But everybody that's always talked about the crypts has always talked about them in a positive light that I've ever seen.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, it might be the most negative thing ever.
But as soon as you said that to me before we started recording, it's like, whether that particular line or not has anything to do with it, they totally set it up.
They set up the crypts so, I mean,
yes,
they're going to the crypts. I'm going to be the defender of the crypts.
The crypts are the safest place.
Right, yeah. And it's just like,
it's right there. There's no way that the crypts turn out to be the safest place.
Right. For reason X, Y, or Z. Which is just frightening in its own aspect. Because they already lost this battle. Everybody there knows they lost the battle. And now they're going to just... they're fighting from within and without. And...
Yep.
Oh, how do you make it out? You grab onto the dragon's tail on your way out, right? I mean...
Assuming the dragons haven't been turned.
It's not looking good.
Actually, speaking of being turned, so for the dead to come back to life,
yeah.
At least when Viserion got turned, the Night King had to go up to him. So you said, talking about secret tunnels and everything.
Yeah.
What if the secret tunnels lead the Night King or some of his, generals down under the crypts? And there's got to be an instigating factor to get all of those people back to life.
Well, no, all you had to do on the beach was go like this.
That's true.
But maybe you have to just be inside of Winterfell with its special barriers.
Right.
And stuff.
So maybe both of those play together with secret tunnels and.
So there could be, because we didn't see the Night King today. We didn't see the dragon.
We did not.
Which, when you have a dragon, typically a dragon leads the charge.
But you know what? This was a save the money episode.
Correct. It was just people.
Yes.
Ghost from back before whenever, same scene.
Yes.
In the background, just. It's gonna be. Is there only one door down to the crypts?
I don't know. They better hope not.
They better hope so.
It's gonna be a very crowded door.
Well, isn't that what you want?
No, you want the women and children to be able to run out of the crypts.
Well, no, they're they're gone.
Oh, you're assuming they're dead.
By the time you realize what's happened,
yes,
they're dead. So now you want the narrowest passage. I want to fight one at a time. One at a time.
That's true.
Let's 2,000 of us in a row. When one of you dies, we step up. You kill as many as you can.
How about this? We all kind of feel like Winterfell's going to be destroyed next week. What if they destroy it? What if Dany and her dragons are the ones who burn Winterfell?
To save the
survivors.
To save the survivors, you burn Winterfell.
Yep. What a plot twist. We're defending the defense of Winterfell. It's all of that.
And in order to defend it, you have to destroy it. Oh my god. And then you retreat to the Iron fucking Islands.
Now you've got Cersei and her army minus elephants, and you've got the Night King. I'm calling it. Dany's 2 dragons are going to destroy Winterfell next week.
You were right last time with the turn of one of the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
So, give it to you.
All right, last prediction. We have 3 dragons.
Yep.
1 is with the Night King.
Yep.
2 are with Dany.
Yep.
Any changes in that next week? Either in terms of deaths or in terms of being turned one way or the other.
They made it sound like Jon's going to be riding one of the dragons.
Yes.
So, in which case I would say no.
I agree. I think we maintain status quo.
I think once it gets to King's Landing, all bets are off.
Yes. But agreed.
We don't have long to get there, everybody.
We don't.
There's 4 episodes. That's it. Savor every last
Shit's about to go down.
Shit. These next 4 episodes are going to be whirlwind.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to get our act together.
That's right.
Less pee breaks.
You know what?
I'm excited for you to watch my footage while you're gone.
Listen, I had to pee. Listen, this entire conversation would have sucked if I'd been sitting here wanting to have to go pee.
That's true.
That's true.
I think I held my own there for a minute.
You did. Your bladder is better than mine.
You don't even know if I did.
No, but you didn't pee, so...
Well, that doesn't matter my conversation
okay,
and shit.
We'll see how it is. Alright, everyone. Until next week, this is episode 69.
We'll come back with a better title next week, we promise.
Goodbye. No, we won't. It'll be episode 70. We're not going to...
What are we going to end on? 73?
73.
73.